Right, so it's not lost on me that all you really have to do nowadays is say AI and immediately the price of your stock goes up, your interest level, everyone's paying attention. It's the buzzword, but with good reason. I mean, the future is here and it's moving so quickly. And I think that there's a lot of value in understanding how we're going to use AI, how it applies, how people have used it in the past. Is it too late? I don't know. But the good news is that on today's episode of Sit Down with Sam, we're going to answer some of those questions. We're going to figure out exactly what's going on in that world. How does it apply to real estate? And, is it too late for you or is there still a chance? Let's tune in and find out. Today's episode is interesting, amazing, and kind of scary. And I know that sounds ominous. I don't mean it to sound that way, but the reality is when we talk about the future, when we talk about technology, I think especially in the current environment and the changes that are coming, and they're coming so fast that it can feel a little bit scary. And some of the things I've heard are frightening, but you are not frightening, and that's why I'm so excited to have you here today, and I really want to thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. Yes, it can be frightening because the rate of change moving forward will be faster than the rate of change has ever been in the past.
Right.
And I don't believe that when people came into real estate, they committed to becoming an active, lifelong learner. They thought that they would learn a skill set and it would serve them for the entirety, right?
Span of their career.
And that is not true.
Did you feel that way when you started?
I 100%. I'm born and raised. My family's been in business here in the city of Chicago now for 71 years. And they don't even have a point of sale system. But we've won the James Beard Award in the classic category and have a street named after us. And so I was born and raised in a classic entrepreneurial family who has a tradition of doing things the same way. Oh. So when I came into real estate, I thought that I would get this one license and that it would serve me well.
Right. That was the way forward. You knew what you learned, and now you're ready just to take that, apply it, and then nothing changes.
And nothing changes until I realized I didn't know anything. And once I realized that, especially going into the foreclosure short sale crisis, was when I committed to becoming an active lifelong learner.
I love that. Now, it's interesting that you brought up the short sales. I was speaking with another guest on a podcast, and we were talking about, that time in our careers, 2006 to 2008. And she mentioned that her success during that time was being willing to do what other people weren't willing to do. This was with Stephanie Lavelle. Phenomenal agent, iconic in the Chicago real estate scene. And I'm going to take a guess that you probably follow that same line.
I did. I was the queen of foreclosures. I had an email address, foreclosurequeen@comcast.net. And the next thing I see articles published because of the foreclosure queen. What a lot of people don't know is that I was 9 months pregnant. And my husband drove me up to Appleton, Wisconsin in February of 2007 so that I could become certified to teach what became the SFR class for the National Association of Realtors.
Okay.
And that I put 5,000 people through the Accredited Distressed Property Representative, my own designation program. What I have the ability to do is to spot trends, but I only leverage what the data backs. So if I don't find data to support, I knew foreclosures and short sales were coming.
Right.
That's why I was 9 months pregnant with restless leg syndrome, having my husband drive me up to Appleton, Wisconsin. Even now when we talk about artificial intelligence, it is because of the numbers. And so I thought that statistics was the dumbest class in the world when I was in undergrad and in grad school, because when you're in your early 20s, you don't care about the probability of something occurring between 0 and 1.
Not going to lie, I couldn't stand it. It was my least favorite class. I was always really good at math, and I liked other types of math, but I could not stand stat and design. That one drove me nuts.
Ooh, so I didn't like it,
okay.
Right? But now at 55, I am looking at statistics on every single thing that I do. So when it comes to real estate and owning your niche, I'm looking at what do the numbers say?
Okay.
Not my gut, and I have a good gut, but If the numbers don't support it, my gut means nothing.
I like that. I think that's very tough. I've always been in a position where throughout my career, 23 years of doing this, I've led up until maybe the last 5-6 years, I've led with my gut, and it's done really well for me. I won't, I don't want to sell myself short, but it's only in the last 5-6 years that I've been also following that wanting to learn, wanting to understand more than I ever have in my entire life, taking that growth mindset and now looking to lead a life of design, right? Instead of default. Mm-hmm. So I love the fact that you're focused on the data, because data's the currency of the future, or at least, well, it's actually not. It's the currency of today.
It is.
Right? Maybe not the future. Today, it is absolutely a currency, a form of currency, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. So, the short sale queen, foreclosure queen, and that was obviously a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Now, the queen of AI when it comes to real estate. You've definitely grabbed this and embraced the changes more than anyone I've seen in this industry, which is phenomenal. And you've done a really good job of that.
Thank you.
What was between? Because we've had a pretty big span between when short sales fell to the wayside to where we are now.
So around the same time that the foreclosure market came to be, there was a report that came out from the National Association of Realtors. It was the 2006 Profile of Buyers and Sellers.
Okay.
And what it told me was that in 1995, only 2% of consumers were using the internet as a source of information. But when I was reading this report, it said 80%. And I'm like, 78% increase. I had bus benches, billboards. Right. I had a tool back in the day called House Values. And I was running a classified ad in the back of the Sun-Times every day. Nothing had seen a 78% increase. Right. So I decided to Google my name. If they're online, I need to be online. And my name came up fewer than 10 times. And I said, Marki, you have a problem moving forward.
Right.
You're not online where consumers are today. What are you going to do about it? And so I instantly started using Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter at the time, so that I could be found. And then I generated my first lead with no ad spend, and I was hooked. And so 2006, even up until today, there was this social media technology. So when the foreclosure crisis came to an end about the same time I was mentally tuning out, like I didn't want to hear another bad story. Okay. I decided that I was going to commit to technology in the industry. And so essentially from 2012 up until now, it was about innovation and technology.
Okay.
So when artificial intelligence, or better yet, ChatGPT, was made accessible on November the 30th, 2022, I was among the first 2 million people to use it as a tool the first week of December 2022.
I remember this, yeah.
Yeah, and the first night I used it, I said, oh, this is the greatest business tool I've ever used.
How were you introduced to it? How did you become aware of ChatGPT?
Gary V and Charlene Johnson.
Gary V.
On Instagram. So I'd seen their videos.
Okay.
This is the world's greatest business tool. It's going to change and how we do business. And I had actually saved both of them. And I was sitting in my office and I said, what is this tool? And I like both of them. And we're in the same age bracket. So I followed them. I said, let me go find this ChatGPT.
Right.
I went to ChatGPT and my first prompt is, what is a podcast? And the reason is I'm the podcast host of Drive with NAR, right? The largest trade organization in the world. I'm like, okay, I know how to do this. I want to see if it can tell me how to do what it is I already do and know how to do. Okay. And I stayed up until about 4 a.m.
Just going down the rabbit hole.
Just going down the rabbit hole, pure excitement, adrenaline flowing. I'm like, this is going to change everything.
And it wasn't even online at that time. Right.
Well, it was online. It was at that time. It was what was it? It was ChatGPT. It was
this
accessible.
Is when it was okay. So this is when it was accessible and connected to the internet.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Oh well, no. It was not connected to the internet.
There we go. That's
and
what I mean. Yeah,
so you could not do a
yet.
search and it go browse the internet.
Right.
No, it
completely
was
different.
Only the data that it had, right? And it was still the most awesome thing I had seen as a business too. But let me say one thing about that. Even though it wasn't connected to the internet, there were already Chrome browser extensions that you could use as a plug-in that would give you access to the internet.
So you could hack.
You could hack, and you still can.
ChatGPT.
You could hack ChatGPT almost 24 hours after it became publicly accessible.
I was sitting on my couch. It was like 8:30 at night, and the kids had just gone to sleep. I was waiting for my wife to come down. We were going to watch something on TV, and I was surfing on Facebook, and there's a friend of mine. His name's James Coddington. It's arguably one of the smartest people I've ever met. And he was a DJ growing up, like as I've always known James from the music world, in another lifetime, and still in this current lifetime, I was a professional musician. I've been a professional drummer most of my life. That's what I do. And me and James always knew each other from that music scene, but I always knew he was really smart. So he's got this post, and he's talking about ChatGPT, and he's like, check out, and he shared his first conversation, and he said, check out this conversation I just had, and I went through and I was reading this, and so he starts talking to ChatGPT as if it's a person, and it's I'm giving it prompts like, I'm really excited to talk to you, and ChatGPT is like, really nice to meet you, I can't wait to talk more. And it was going through, and he starts to talk about space-time continuum, and he's talking about traveling using different forms of traveling to other planets. And he goes through and they start to talk about what are called heavy elements, which I'll probably screw this up because I'm not James, but it's my belief. I believe heavy elements, it's basically how certain elements in the table react differently in a completely different environment, such as how will this element react when there's no gravity present. And they're called these heavy elements. And he's asking ChatGPT, are you familiar with heavy elements? And ChatGPT says, I'm so excited that you talked about that. I am familiar, and this is what I know. And they just have this conversation that puts most, imagine there are physicists out there watching this going like, what? And immediately I opened it up because he had the link. This is when only they allowed, I think was it 2 million? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Only a certain amount of people to get into there. And I started Googling stuff about, the mortgage business.
Oh.
And immediately the responses and the content that was generated, my wife had come down at this point, and I was showing her the stuff. She was also a very successful lender, killer. She was great in this business. I said, look at the stuff that is coming through here. And it was better than 99.9% of the content that I had seen other loan officers generate, including myself. I was like, this is something. And I knew right there, I was like, this is going to be huge. Like I can't even imagine. Then over the course of the next few weeks, you couldn't get on there anymore. I still had my original, I left it open in the browser so I could keep getting into it. But other people are like, I would try to send it to people like, you should check this out. And they're like, I can't get into it because they're overwhelmed with their users. So it was immediately impactful. Now, even though I was inspired, I haven't even scratched the surface. Like you've built businesses, you've accomplished some amazing things, which we can talk about, utilizing ChatGPT. But as you started making that move, the design and the understanding, how did you change towards, or maybe not change, but understand how you were going to start to use this for real estate?
Well, I instantly felt like I was going down a rabbit hole.
Right.
And understanding the value of time. I said, you cannot go down a rabbit hole.
Right.
Therefore, you have to be strategic in your utilization. Okay. And what are the pain points of licensed real estate professionals? So the first thing that happened, and this is based on 20 years of trust, everyone who I had a booked engagement for in 2023, I asked them if we could change the subject, if I could introduce their audience to artificial intelligence. And everyone said yes.
Wow.
And that was 106 engagements that year that I was able to teach my fellow licensed real estate professional how to use this as a business tool.
Okay.
But getting laser beam focused, I wanted to go back to the pain point. And the pain point for most licensed real estate professionals is lead generation. And the reason is because they're not viewed as an authority and they're not solving consumers' problems.
Right.
So I came up with a measurement, and I've always believed in this measurement. I just never knew how much content I had to put out in order to generate the amount of leads that I wanted to generate. So what in 26 years I can prove is that now, if you want to generate 8 leads per day, that means adding 2,920 contacts to your customer relationship management system.
Okay.
If your average minimum price point is $250,000, which should be the average minimum, I would say, in most marketplaces, right? Then you should be able to net 20 transactions. If you net 20 transactions and you earn $5,000 per transaction, then you can earn $100,000. So I teach in $100,000 increments. Okay. With that being said, what I know to be a fact is that if you put out 1,066 words of value every single day and you have a landing page with a call to action, you can add those 8 contacts to your customer relationship management system.
Okay.
So leveraging artificial intelligence to put out daily content, but not any daily content. Daily content in what is your niche, in your marketplace, in your voice, style, and tone. But what a lot of real estate professionals don't look at is that one picture is worth 1,000 words.
Okay.
And that 1 minute of video content shot at 30 frames per second is worth 1.8 million words. Okay. So before AI came out, one of the reasons I would say I work more and earn more is because I was creating video content.
Break that down. What is that one picture is worth? You know, it has this value, and obviously there's a lot of pictures in the video. Why is that picture or that video worth so much?
The reason is because what people don't look at is what you can extract from a video.
Okay.
Now, artificial intelligence allows us to reverse engineer content creation. What I've been doing now since 2017 is creating video content to extract 200 different forms of content from that one piece of content.
Right, to get the most out of that lift.
The lift, right?
Yeah.
So from every video, a podcast, from every podcast, an email, from every email, a blog post, from every blog post, photo quote. I've been doing this, right, across all of these different channels, but let me tell you why. The reason I was doing that was because a lot of people who sell leads, I know that I don't have the ad spend that they do. Okay. But what I knew they didn't have was 2 feet on the ground on the south side of the city of Chicago, armed with this device. And so I needed to create my own space, and it worked well for me. So my ad spend is virtually nothing because I have more content. And I'm going to say this. I am likely the most visible real estate agent on the south side of the city of Chicago, and I'm not even in Chicago. That's 100 amazing. Nights per year I'm on the road. But it is because of the podcasts, the videos, the blog posts, the email marketing, and the photos. And so I wanted to create a system, a lead generation system that will generate me leads whether I'm spending money or not. And that's what I've done. So without any ad spend, with old landing pages, I'm still going to add 6 figures of volume to my customer relationship management system and do absolutely nothing.
It's happening while you sleep.
It absolutely happens while I sleep.
Right.
But the bigger testament, and you know my son, Skylar. So Skylar wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. He became consistent in
Spoken
2024.
Like a mom.
Only a mother could say this, right? No one else can. You cannot walk up on me and talk about my kids, right? And
exactly.
they know that, right?
I can't say that.
Right.
You can say that.
I can say it.
All right.
So he decided that in 2024, he created 80 videos. Of those 80 videos, 72 of them do not have his face in them.
Okay.
It generated 1,742 leads. It led to $165,000 in gross closed income for a 28-year-old. Now, the reason I say that is he actually defied the numbers because he had video content.
Okay.
But more importantly, he leveraged artificial intelligence through ManyChat, which allows him to auto-respond to any comment on LinkedIn and send a DM.
Right.
He also had an 8-part email follow-up sequence and a monthly text that went out. But he did this with no ad spend. And so his numbers actually show proof that video content is the absolute best form of content. And let me come back to what I don't think a lot of people are thinking about. Because I create video content, I am creating content for the visually impaired and the audio impaired. And the reason is because I can extract the audio if you can't see, and then we can do audio to text transcription on every single video. Most people are watching a video with the sound off.
Of course.
So they're reading it. But now with tools like Notebook LM, I'm able to create mind maps, FAQs, briefing docs, and translate it into 80 different languages.
From one video.
Well, here's the thing. I don't even have to create a video anymore because we can do reverse engineer.
Yes.
So my number one way to create content is on the mobile device. And I generally start with a note because I'm going to do audio input. We all talk more and provide more details, audio, than we will ever text and or write. Okay. So I'm giving it the absolute best input. Audio, where I'm going to provide it more details. The more details you provide, the better the results you're going to receive. So I'm doing audio to text, text to image, image to video.
Audio to text, and where you take it, and you're taking this down, where do you take down your audio to text?
So my audio to text, I'm doing in a note.
In a note.
In a note.
Just standard notes app.
Standard notes
Whatever
app.
note app it is.
Or you can do it in ChatGPT.
Okay, got it.
So I can do audio to text in ChatGPT and ask it to create an image.
From that note that you've made.
From that note that I made.
Okay.
Okay. Or I could do it in Mid-Journey.
Sure.
And the joy of Mid-Journey is I'm going to get a better image and I can instantly turn that into a video.
Got it. Meaning a video, is that using a catalog of your previous videos, your image? Is your image in these videos, or is it creating a video without your image?
It can do both.
Can do both.
It definitely can do both because I can load a photo of me into Mid-Journey and turn it into a video.
Turn it into a video, right?
Yes.
Using that avatar and creating that image in your own likeness in your own image.
So here's what's kind of interesting. If I'm creating an AI twin, I'm using a tool called FreePic, which I can definitely do audio to text, text to image, image to video, all inside of that one platform. Okay. And it will look exactly like me. But Nano Banana is the newest thing on the block in the last week. And my husband's birthday is coming up. And I wanted to make him emotional. So what I've done is taken all these old images and I've loaded them over to Nano because I can take a black and white image and turn it to color.
Okay.
And then I've added motion to it. So the first one was a picture of him and his grandmother standing on the street that I turned into a walking video.
Oh, wow.
It messed him up.
I bet.
So I restored the image and then added motion to it.
And this was through Nano Banana?
Nano Banana.
Where did that name come from?
Gemini came up with it. And then in Gemini, you have VEO3.
Okay, yeah.
And so what I will tell you, that's why we were talking earlier about the rate of change. Right now, imagery and video creation is number one in AI, and you can see how they're all competing with one another. So whether that is going to be Gemini, ChatGPT, or another platform of Mid-Journey, they are at it right now. And every other day, there's a new development. It's almost impossible to keep up.
Well, it makes it better, right? We were talking before, before we got started, you were talking about going through and learning some, how, I'll save the names on it, but, how someone's created their own ChatGPT, and you took what you learned from them, created your own version of it, and did it better.
Yes. Right?
Because it's like climbing up the steps, right? No one starts on this step and just jumps straight to the top. They're in a position where each step makes it easier to get to that next position. And technology is amazing that way. I think right now, we've gone from steps to an escalator to an elevator to teleporting, because you're basically, by the time we're done recording this, something's going to be new.
Oh, most definitely.
Right?
It's brewing right now.
How do you stay out in front of that? How do you recommend people, as they go through? Because I think you're dropping a lot of information here. I hope people are paying attention and taking notes, and we'll share some of this in the liner. But when you go through and people think about it and they say, okay, well, I need to get started, and they get started going through it. The reality is a lot of this is going to change. A lot of this is going to be different. So how do you stay out in front of it yourself? And then how do you recommend people stay relevant and stay out in front of it so that they're not, they're in a position where they can make it easier, more accessible, and try to stay on top of what could ultimately change how they're using AI?
Recently, I was at a session at the National Speakers Association, and they said that people always come up with to-do lists, but we do not develop to-learn list.
Okay.
Now is the time to develop the to-learn list, and going back to being that active lifelong learner.
Okay.
My goal is to learn something new every single day. So I'm a big ChatGPT user. I do have Gemini AI only because I needed to expand my storage capacity. So I wasn't paying for it to use it per se.
Okay.
I was paying for it because I have all of these videos and images and I needed that expanded storage. So this morning, before I came here, I went over to Gemini and I said, I'm going to learn how to use this more consistently, especially because of Nano Banana and the VEO3. So for the video capabilities, image restoration and creation. And while I was over there, I said, oh, I can set up reoccurring tasks in Gemini. Didn't know that. And oh, they have gems, which I use in ChatGPT as a project. They just called it something different.
Okay.
So this morning before I came in, I took the time to go in, set up my voice paragraph in Gemini, set up gems, and set up 2 scheduled tasks that now is automation.
What's a voice paragraph?
Okay.
And what's a gem?
Okay, so a voice paragraph, I think that every person inside of ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, you have the ability to customize it.
Okay.
If you're going to customize it, you should customize it in your voice, your style, and your tone. That means that I have a prompt that I give out to real estate professionals that they use the prompt and then they copy and paste a sample of their writing before using ChatGPT.
Okay, got it.
That could be an email, it could be a text message, it could be a social media post. So they take the prompt and then they paste their writing sample and it gives you back what is your voice paragraph, your voice, your style, and your tone. So I am telling the system and putting a filter in place so that it sounds like me.
Got it.
And I've heard people say, well, that doesn't work. I'm going to disagree, and here's why. I've been using Grammarly ever since September the 13th, 2015.
Right.
I'm approaching 12 million, get this, 12 million words it has analyzed on my behalf.
Wow.
I am clear about what my voice was well before ChatGPT came about.
Okay.
And I will tell you every single week, I am still leading with confidence, inspiration, and authority. And I've been doing that for now, oh my God, 11 years. So because I've been using AI tools, didn't know I was using them, I can go back and reference. I'm clear how I communicate. You can't tell me how I communicate, right? Now, you might have made me mad and you might have got one of those other messages, right? And those other messages do exist, but that's not my norm, right? And I know this. And so we're leveraging these tools. So you want to have a voice paragraph only for consistency. So Sam Sharp would have one, your mortgage team would have one, because the two are not the same.
Right, we sound different.
You sound different, right?
Although if I have my way, they'll just learn to sound just like me because that's what I want.
Exactly. And then a gem. Let me tell you in ChatGPT.
What's a gem?
So in ChatGPT, you have what is called projects. Inside of Gemini, you have a gem or gems. What that is a isolated set of rules inside of either portal. So inside of Gemini, gems, I gave it a rule. I have a LinkedIn writer. I want my LinkedIn post to look a certain way. I've given it the rules and the regulations for this. That means that anytime that I use this gem or I use this project, it's adherent to this set of rules and regulations, specific rules and regulations for that chat.
Okay.
And then in both systems, I can also set up automations. So one of the automations is I have a 6 figures in 12 months. It's a private membership group. Well, I have to coach them to get to 6 figures in 12 months. It gives me the content every single day for me to act as the coach that I am without me having to think or guess about it.
It's actually creating the curriculum for you.
Yes. I wake up every morning with 2 hours of my work performed. You don't ever have to question. I sleep sound like a baby, 8 hours every single night under my weighted cooling blanket. And I can do so because I wake up with automations already performed on my behalf.
Right. You've prepared for it. That's interesting too, because I was just rereading a book, Dan Sullivan, Gap and the Gain. Phenomenal book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. And we're just talking about habits and things that people will look to do. And, sometimes you have to just find the habits that work for you, right? It's not one way to do anything in this world. And, one of the ones I'm practicing this right now is going through at night and writing down your intentions for the next day. You also have, it's similar to gratitude, things of that nature, right? You're basically going back and looking at what were your gains today. And this is to keep you in a positive mindset, which is, it's a great tool, a great resource, but that's also the idea behind that life of design, right? You've set up the day because you have these automations put in place.
Yes.
So it's interesting because you have these systems put in place that are working for you days ahead. Mm-hmm. So it's not just going to sleep that night necessarily typing in, creating everything you're going to do for the morning. It's going to sleep knowing how you're going to start your day because you've already created that consistency there for you. And then you can sleep well knowing that it's going to be done and it's reliable.
I think phenomenal. How Miracle Morning, so a lifesavers, right?
Right.
So kind of the same philosophy I use in my life. And I was chasing buses. I have 2 children. They're 11 years apart. I really was stretching myself, getting up at 5:15 a.m. Did not like getting up at 5:15 a.m. It is not my natural clock. I now have the opportunity to get up at my natural clock. So when people say, oh, you look refreshed and, you're always having so much fun. Yeah, because I got a good night's sleep. Right. And I'm going to get one every single night. And the joy now is my work is done.
Right.
So I'm not sleeping with regret. I'm not thinking, oh, I should get up early tomorrow. No, I'm not thinking that. Only way I'm getting up early tomorrow if I got to get on a plane or I have a speaking engagement because I don't have to get up early tomorrow. I get to get 8 hours of sleep and pop up. I tell people I emerge every morning feeling like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon.
And that's not a bad way to wake up.
No.
I have my inconsistencies on how I wake up. I always wake up though, and I've got my plan.
You're here. But, knock on wood.
Yeah, sometimes those entrepreneurial mindsets can get the best of us.
Yes.
I love that. I like, and thank you for sharing that about, talking through some of the basics, right, with the gems and understanding that, going through, I think that in general, AI can feel overwhelming. I think that people, when they look to approach it, they, think about real estate agents, right? If you've got a realtor out there who is starting and they're like, I have to do this. I hear this all the time. This is not a new story, right? This is going back to video, which was obviously a great segue from where you've gone from foreclosure queen through video, social media, leading you up. It's a natural progression, actually, a progression of changing, staying relevant, and focusing on what works,
yes,
which is amazing. But when you think about it, there's a lot of people who used to say like, oh, I don't like to do video, but I got to do video. I used to talk with agents and offer my advice. And they'd say, well, I really need to be doing video. And I would say, well, you're right. You do absolutely need to do video. And they're like, yeah, I know, because I need it to do this. I said, I don't think that we're on the same page. I think you need to do video because what you think it's going to do for you it's not what's going to happen. I said, and as long as that is occupying that mental calendar of yours, you're not your best. You're not going to be yourself. Instead, you have this hanging out there where you feel like, I have to do this. Well, now that's become AI, right? There's a lot of people who are like, oh, I've got to do this. And it's not even there yet. Like soon, it'll be the same thing. People will be like, and of course, for a lot of people, it's going to be, oh, wow, I never even did video. And now I have to do AI. Well, fortunately, AI can do it for you. I guess we'll bypass that. Maybe they're lucky. But, they get overwhelmed and it's hard to take that step and go through it. So talking about the basics, I think, can help a lot of people. Now, is it is it fair to say, because I was thinking about how someone would learn about this, and how you learned about this. Is it fair to say that, well, if you want to be an expert on ChatGPT, is it as easy as going in there and saying, listen, I need to learn how to become an expert in ChatGPT. This is who I am. This is what I do. I want it to sound like me, and I don't know how to start. Can you help me?
Yes, but I think that as adult learners, we need to identify our learning style.
Okay.
And so that might not necessarily be the best way. If we were to look at who's referred the most traffic to ChatGPT, it would be YouTube.
Okay.
If you are a visual learner, then go over to YouTube. But don't go over to YouTube and search for the highest rated video.
Right.
Go over to YouTube and search for the highest rated video in the past 30 days. Because I can tell you right now, the one last year, the interface looked different. How we're using it today is totally different than how we were using it 12 months ago.
Right. You're trying to use a nail gun and we're watching a video on how to swing a hammer.
Exactly.
It's like, that doesn't work.
And so because I don't know, like gyms, I watched a video this morning.
Okay.
Right.
Got it.
But I'm a visual learner. So now what people don't know is if your learning style is not there, you can take the transcript and put it into Notebook LM. And if you're an audio learner, it'll give it to you in audio.
Okay.
If you have ADHD and you like mind maps, it'll give you a mind map.
Okay.
So to me, Notebook LM, when I'm thinking about real estate agents, I'm thinking that 1 in 5 adult learners are neurodivergent learners.
Okay. What does that mean?
Neurodivergent, they learn different.
Okay, got it.
And ADHD, dyslexia, they learn different. And so for me, leveraging AI, yes, I want to use it for lead generation, but I also want to teach real estate agents how to own a niche and how to cater to underserved people. And often they think underserved means economics. Well, underserved would be the visually impaired. Underserved would be the audio impaired. Neurodivergent learners are, they're underserved.
Underserved.
Right.
Okay.
And so how do you take this content and repurpose it to develop a niche to serve more people who historically have not been served?
So what if someone's watching right now and they're saying, wow, what type of learner am I?
How do you digest information
Right.
that provides you the best output?
How have you entered into a situation and you had to, in the past, what have you learned and how did you end up learning this? Because some people, when you think about it, there's, what's the saying? If you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, you're obviously going to be sorely mistaken. I think it's like Albert Einstein or something. Who knows if that's even real? That's probably not real. See, what happens is there's all these things that get put online and you read them and you think someone said this. I often am skeptical. There's different things that you read, like this person said that. And it's like, no, they never said that. Speaking of fish, have you ever heard the goldfish has an 8-second memory, right? They say learn like a goldfish because they forget, everything.
The shortest attention
span. I have also read that is not true at all. Not even close to true. Yeah, goldfish actually have a great memory. And then what happened is as soon as I had read that, I went back and I had to do more research because now I didn't know if I believed that. There's a term for it and it's escaping me. For a while on my stories for social media, that's what I would do every day. I would start with something that people thought, like, is this true or is this not true? And I would share something about things like Ellis Island. People are like, oh, well, when my grandparents or my relatives came through Ellis Island, they had to change their name because we're going to be persecuted. And the reality is that that's not true at all. No one changed their name. You couldn't. They changed their name afterwards. Right? There's movies where you see people and they look in the book and they're like, oh, I found their name, and that wasn't really their name. They changed it. And it's like, well, that's not real. And you look about this stuff and you're like, wow, that's amazing. So you have to be careful.
You have to be careful.
So that poses an interesting position.
Yes.
As we go through and we develop content, we learn and we put ourselves out there and on the flip side of that, the people who are watching that and learning, therein lies the danger. I was thinking about this to put it in a different context. I was talking to someone about online reviews. They were talking about a mortgage lender, right? I'm a mortgage lender. So what I do, and of course people come to me with these companies that are amazing, that are offering amazing interest rates, and they have 7,200 online reviews that are amazing. And I can tell very quickly from looking at those reviews, I'm like, these are not real reviews. And we experienced this. We were traveling. You and I were talking about France, right? Recently in Paris. And we went to a restaurant. It was one of the top rated restaurants. Now, I should be beat for this because we were going to an Italian restaurant. We're in France. I love French food, by the way. So I'll just put that out there. Not that it's relevant.
And you know the French, they're particular. So
They
I
are
don't
particular.
know. Okay, keep going.
So I'm thinking, well, that's it. We're not that far from Italy, are we? Okay, the kids want something
Really?
different. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm like, okay, so we go to this restaurant. This restaurant was horrible. Like everything was horrible. The ambiance, to the point when we walked up, I was like, is this the right place? And it was the right place. And I'm like, okay, well, it looked pretty amazing. It got really good reviews, TripAdvisor, like all these wonderful sources that said this was a great place to go. And I immediately knew, I'm like, they were not real. Like this, I've been tricked.
Yeah.
So what are the dangers in that with AI right now? For let's go to the other side of this, not for agents, but maybe people trying to learn or trying to take that advice online. How do you protect yourself?
Let me be clear. People live by the rule, perception is reality.
For sure.
That is no longer true.
Yeah, not
Period. Because I have an AI twin, you can see it. It might not be real. I mean, it could literally be right there,
Right.
and it might not be real, right? So with that being said, the amount of due diligence that one is going to have to do, and we've come out of a world of search engine marketing, SEM and SEO. Well, there's a new player in town, AEO, answer engine optimization, better known as artificial intelligence.
Right.
So have you noticed that when you're doing searches now, AEO is at the very top before SEM.
Right, because it's telling you the suggested answer.
The
And
suggested
this is what
answers.
people are taking too. I'm
100%.
guilty 100%. I do it every time.
I was at the bank yesterday meeting with my my financial advisor, and we went to Google, and this was how he was answering my questions.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, we got a problem, because most of those are coming either from Reddit or from Wikipedia. I just
Okay.
want you to know the fuel and source behind that. So today, in order to be at the very top, you need to have even more content, but you have to be on certain platforms. And those people who are on Reddit or those people who are on have Wikipedias technically can hack the answers, and they might not be true,
Right.
which is why I'm encouraging every real estate professional to create even more content to be that reliable local source. I hear people, and this was a problem well before AI, where people would come back and say, well, I got this, I Googled this. Yeah, for New Jersey,
Right.
those rules do not apply in the state of Illinois, or those rules don't apply in Cook County, or those rules don't apply in the city of Chicago. And so going back to that long tail search, right? You need to tell people what you do and where you do it, and do it consistently so that we can hack. But we're going to get a lot of fake and erroneous information.
At least with Google, people, I feel, would be more likely to go down and look at multiple opinions and options. And if you want some clarity on this, or not you, but I mean, for anyone watching, if you want a good example of it, this is how I realized the inaccuracy of a lot of these answers and what was going on is we live in Chicago. Chicago's, again, with the food, I must be hungry. But Chicago is one of the best cities in the world when it comes to eating.
100%.
Right? It's undisputed. I don't care.
That's it.
Prove me wrong. And I was asking, I just go through and ask a few searches about areas that I know and what's the best food to get there. And you talk about what's the best Italian restaurant, right? And it comes up and I'm like, wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Now, again, everyone has their own perceived reality, personal tastes, things of that nature. But I can immediately tell the answers are coming from places that have invested more in their SEO, right? Or maybe are more highly trafficked for whatever reason. I did it with pizza, right? Chicago. And I'm just going to put it out there, judge me if you will, but if I'm looking at the top 10 pizza places in Chicago, top 10, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Okay, we can cover a lot of ground. If one of those is not Pequod's,
It's wrong.
we got a problem.
We
See,
got
you
a
live here. You know that.
I know that.
Right?
I
You
know that for a fact.
So, and that's exactly what had happened. And I saw that. I was like, wow, this is not right. This is not real. This is not the way it goes. So you've got to do that due diligence and if you're ever, just start going through what you know and asking those questions and seeing it. I know it will continue to get better. But I do worry about as we start to manipulate the system, because that's inevitably what people do.
Oh, most
They're going to
definitely.
manipulate the system so it's going to become easier to found. I got a fun question for you. If I use ChatGPT to find a real estate agent in Chicago, is it going to suggest you because of everything you've been doing? Have you done this for yourself?
No, but if you ask it about artificial intelligence in real estate,
You're
it will.
coming up. Oh,
I'm
100%.
coming up. Me
Okay.
and Tom Ferry are coming up, and that's what I want to come up for, right? I want to be thought of as a thought leader inside of artificial intelligence, and our agents to come up as thought leaders as real estate professionals, right? And so I was very specific in the beginning on what I wanted to be found as,
Okay.
and started with ChatGPT and building the new AEO, answer engine optimizer, versus SEM or SEO. And I wasn't investing heavily in SEM anyway.
Okay.
So for me, it would be the answer engine optimization and or the search engine optimization.
So you were focused on making sure that when someone used ChatGPT to find how you want to be found, that was exactly your focus point. And I hope a lot of people are paying attention to that, because that's something now you've said multiple times within this, while we're sitting here. You've talked about being intentional, being focused, going down the rabbit hole and not letting that happen. I mean, I think that's an admirable quality. It's hard to do. I go down a lot of rabbit holes all the time. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's okay to go down the rabbit hole, but then at some point you need to understand what you're trying to accomplish. Why? My new thing right now that I'm doing for everything that I'm trying to do is just to get behind the why. I'm like, okay, I'm thinking of doing this. I'm going to do this. Why? It has even come down to this podcast and why we're sitting here right now. I have to reevaluate, because the reality is I'm not the same person I was, 10 years ago. I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago. And sometimes something that was important to me 2 years ago is not important now. So you've got to ask that why. So as you're going down these rabbit holes, start to understand, like, well, why do I want to do this? If I'm a real estate agent or a real estate professional, or anyone for that matter, and I want to build out a prompt, or I want to build out ChatGPT, why? Why do you want to do that? Because I think a lot of times we get caught up in thinking we should do something, and it's not necessarily there. You could be in a position where you feel like, and this happens with people in anything. They may say, oh, well, I need to invest my money so that I have a better retirement. And then they meet with someone and they say, I need to do this. And the person looks and says, you're already there. And you don't even realize where you're trying to go. You just think you need to go. So being intentional, I think, is something that I'm really, these are speaking of gems, these are gems you're dropping. And I hope people are picking up on that. I want to point that out. So what I would like to talk about now, not switching gears, but staying in line, the future within AI is changing all the time. It's fascinating. I said scary because, as you start to look at where AI can go, as AI learns how to talk to AI and interact and starts leading itself, it's you can't argue that it is obviously already smarter than people and will learn how to create. And if you've ever, again, mentioned a drummer, right? It was a musician. Mm-hmm. I've heard some music created through AI that is phenomenal. And people are like, oh, AI can't be an artist. I'm like, well, yes, it can, because it's just taking different forms of input and putting it out into different patterns, which is what artists do as well as musicians and anyone. So it's arguable that at some point between AI and robots, they'll be able to do something, but almost anything better than a person can. But the one thing that seems to, at least right now, to be a consistent, people agree on consistently, is that connection is becoming more important than ever.
It is.
Because of this, I think, and maybe not just because of this. We're coming out of an interesting 5 years, right? The pandemic was very tough. It was probably the worst thing for some people, and it was the best for some. I am fortunate. I as much as I feel bad saying it because I know it was really tough for people. It was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. And, as we come out of that, though, the one thing that is evident is that connection has become so important. And when we think about AI and we think about people starting to become more introverted and having less of a social connection and starting to get that connection through artificial means, what do you think that looks like for the future of our industry as someone continues to use these tools and resources? Because again, I know you agree that these are tools and resources to be used as you're the person using them.
Yeah.
But as people start to, let's just say, go down that rabbit hole effectively, focused, and use it, how can people focus on staying connection? Do you think that's important? Like, what do you think about what this looks like 5-10 years from now as it becomes so ingrained? And let's focus specifically on the real estate industry.
What's kind of interesting to me, I saw a post the other day and it talked about a AI company with AI agents.
Yep.
And when I read the article, it was in Portugal. Well, it is illegal in these good United States, in every single state, to practice real estate without a license.
Okay.
Right now, you still need to be a human being. And I don't foresee, just candid, based on the average age of a person sitting on these different state committees that render these decisions when the rules sunset, I don't foresee any changes to license law that would allow AI to legally practice real estate without someone receiving a fine. So let me start. And if it did occur, I know in the state of Illinois, I don't imagine that would occur before the year 2040.
Okay.
So I'm looking at, there's still rules and regulations.
I'm going to trust your data too, though, because you got this dialed in on
well,
their stats.
because in the state of Illinois, our rules sunset every 10 years. And they're already working on the 2030 changes. And no offense, the people who are working on it, my parents' age.
Right.
They're not connected to the technology, right? And I probably am going to get in trouble, but just way you challenged them, show me any different, right? But I'm looking at who is serving on the commissions and things of that nature for the states. You're not, the rules are not going to change. So everybody is like the foreclosure market, right? Everybody came up with their own set of rules and regulations to practice in real estate while we were going through the foreclosure process, but it was going against real estate license law and the Realtors Code of Ethics.
Okay.
So we got some rules and parameters we need to follow. What I do see is that you're going to have a lot of entities who want to introduce us to illegal behavior.
Of course.
Okay. So if you want to, I don't want to jeopardize my license. So I'm going to always adhere to license rules and regulations.
Okay.
By the year 2030, the top of funnel is going to be 100% artificial intelligence.
Okay.
And the real estate agents who leverage that will be able to control their margins. There's no award being given out to the real estate agent who does not use AI, who works more hours and sees margins shrinking. Like, you know, we have a history in our industry. Well, I've done this for 30 years and you still are not financially eligible to retire. Right. I wish we could retire that, right? I want to know, can you financially retire after your 30 years, after your 40 years, after your 50 years? Because there's no badge being given to you because you worked longer and harder than anyone else.
Right.
Right? That defies being an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Okay. And so what I am seeing is that right now, AI agents exist. Artificial intelligence can act autonomously. It can go out on the internet. It will give you a report on the right-hand side of exactly what it's done, and then it will come back. That exists already. I love human connection. I was social before social media, okay? And so I'm being intentional about spending time with people face to face, but I still need you in my customer relationship management system. The person who felt isolated is going to continue to isolate themselves.
Okay.
Because ChatGPT, and we just seen a change in the Model 5. I don't like 5, okay? Let me tell you why. It doesn't do what I tell it to do the way that I tell it to do it.
Okay.
Okay? So they've put in, I would say, a new safeguard for it to stop catering to us, to give us exactly what we want, to talk to us the way that we want it to talk to us.
Right.
That does not exist in 5, right? So it's like I've had to relearn, right, a new way to communicate. And I think that if they continuously put in safeguards like that, they're altering you to come out of what you have become comfortable with.
Okay.
Because what I am is not comfortable right now with ChatGPT, because I'm having to relearn how I talk to it. And I was accustomed to getting certain results.
Sure.
And so it makes me want to actually go back and use the old model.
Can you?
Yes, you can.
Okay. That's good to know.
You can,
all right.
you can go back. So, because I was real fond of 4 and things of that nature. And no, 5 is totally different.
My wife misses her BlackBerry. She says it all the time. She just, she likes those keys.
And let me be clear. I was never a BlackBerry user, but I've heard that from numerous BlackBerry users in the last month.
Right. Oh, look at that.
So the keyboard, they had a thing going on with that keyboard that people loved and appreciated.
Divergent learning, right? Or applying in this divergent application, I guess, in this, right? In this place. Can you let's just go there. Can you imagine a world in which AI would replace real estate agents 100%?
I could, and they would have little robots out here in the street that could also fly to the destination. I mean, the components already exist.
Right.
So I think that we need to take our industry more serious. I'm a federal political coordinator. I advocate for us and private home ownerships, and I put my money out next year. I'm financially eligible to be inducted into the RPAC Hall of Fame.
I love that. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I believe in our industry, but do all the components already exist for that to be our future? Most definitely.
I love that answer. You know how many people I talk to about that, and they don't agree. I talk to, and on the lending side of things, I'll talk to other loan officers all the time, and they'll be like, oh, you're never going to be able to replace that. And I said, I could replace you immediately right now. And they said, and they're like, no, you won't. People still, they still need someone. They want to trust someone. They need that connection. And I said, yeah, but you're living in a world where your understanding of connection is different. I said, what happens when we live in a world where someone trusts AI more than they trust people, and where someone's idea of connection is completely online and in a different world? I said, so now let's just change that reality, and then, you know, from there, let's commoditize. People want to do with interest rates anyway. Let's commoditize what you can get when you borrow money. I said, it'd be very easy to make it, if you can make buying a home or getting a loan as easy as swiping a debit card, then you don't need me. And just like you said that about real estate, those components already exist.
Oh, first of all, no one's ever asked me that question. But as soon as you swipe that credit card, and I realized the amount of data that could be backed into a credit card, 100%.
Right.
You could do that. So that means that they haven't seen enough of the components.
Right. And I think that is going to be the inevitable future of what we will see in our industry. I think that the lending industry will be quicker to fall than the real estate industry, because people do connect with. I've 23 years of doing this. The one thing I've always noticed is that people they trust their real estate agent more than they trust their lender, and it's been that way for as long as I can remember. Now, there's always exceptions to every rule, right? I can't say that's with everyone, but there are positions where I connect with people all the time, and you know, they will follow their agent's advice, which is, in some cases, I'm just going to say, in some cases, I'm like, wow, you really shouldn't be.
Yeah, that's bad advice.
Yeah, I don't know what they're telling you that. I don't know why you're trusting them for that, but what they're telling you is their own perceived reality, I guess, right? We'll go back to that. So it's a situation where I think that gives us a little bit more of a runway for agents in general, but not if they don't focus the same way, you know, as you just said, not if they don't fight for it.
Well, no, you just opened a can of worms, because now I'm thinking of this drone flying through the air that can do a retinal scan that goes to clear to verify who I am for the transfer. Like what you just said,
right,
is it can happen right now.
You can swipe a debit card to buy a home.
Yes, you swipe a debit card, or they send that drone out that's going to be on time, right? They can do the full retinal scan to identify who you are. You could put the credit card into the drone, and
has
all
to follow
the data.
Ethics. Code of ethics is ingrained in compliance.
Oh my goodness! Yes, it's all all possible.
Not only
right
could it
now
happen,
today.
but it's already there. So why? So then it would, the world we live in where this would not happen, or at least it'll happen at a slower pace, then you believe that that's coming from advocacy, from involvement, from engagement, and from following that. And I agree with you. I never thought about the timeline on the rules. That's a really good way to put it. Right. It takes a while because of the time before people implement those rules. But so that's definitely a possibility. So then what's next, do you think? What's next for your journey with AI as it, you know, the people, this is a real estate focused show. So for people who are watching this that are real estate agents, and you can go off, You don't have to follow just that if you don't want to, but let's try to stay a little bit more focused on real estate, if you will. What does your future look like as far as the involvement of AI in real estate?
Well, one is going to continue to grow.
Okay.
Two, even well before AI, I told real estate agents, technology will never replace a real estate agent, but an agent using technology will.
Okay.
And if you look at your top producing agents, let's look at the platinum level real estate agents in the city of Chicago. What they did was adapt to technology.
Right.
What they're also doing right now is adapting to artificial intelligence. When you look at those top 5 positions, it will be almost impossible to ever be able to come and capture their market share because of the systems they're putting into place and their ability to communicate with people in the manner in which they want to be communicated with. Even with the changes that are coming, I am always thinking about who is not being served, but I also go back to disc personality selling. I talk to people the way in which they want to be talked to because I understand their personality.
Okay.
And so when you understand a person's personality, you can leverage artificial intelligence to tag them and communicate with them the way in which they desire to be communicated with. The average real estate agent has no idea of a lot of things in which we've spoken on today. So it'll come a point in the future that those top producing agents, they will stop when they feel like relinquishing market share, because if they're leveraging these tools, there's no way you would be able to come in as a newbie because of all of the data that they have that tell you exactly who their ideal client is and the systems in which they have in place.
I say can't beat them, join them. So maybe then in that world, then newer agents will be joining on teams with those agents who are controlling the market share so that they can assist them, but then maybe those agents don't need them because they have systems in place where they don't have to share.
Well, let's talk about that. If you look at a lot of the new AI companies, the value of each employee is over $1 million.
Okay.
So that means that these employees are leveraging AI so well that they have fewer employees, and each of those employees provide more value to the company. In the future, if I have a team, right, and I have all of the systems and I'm doing the bulk of the lead generation, I only need you to open and close doors.
Right.
What does that look like from a compensation standpoint? Right. And you get to control the market. And so the value of the real estate, thank you, Sam, the value of the real estate agent who does not have any of this declines.
Okay.
It is just what it is. Right. So I used to preach to the choir. I said, girl, build your own systems. It means I don't preach. They can get it if they want to.
Right.
If they don't, it's okay. Because I have an arsenal of employees that work for me, and I'm duplicating that on another platform in case something happens to the first platform.
I love it. People say you'll never outwork me, right? So when someone says like, oh yeah, I have a way that I don't even have to work. I can work a little bit to produce something that will outwork you while you sleep.
Exactly.
And that's amazing. Well,
what I tell people is I'm an overweight mid-age woman going through menopause, and I run circles around people without ever running. It's just what it is. I'm going to exercise my brain, but I haven't ran. I didn't run when I could run. So there you go. I can't, no, these legs are not meant for running.
Well, I have absolutely no doubt that you're exercising the right part and that you're headed in the right direction. And I really want to thank you for coming out.
I appreciate you.
So much good stuff here. I think this is great. I can't wait for this to drop so people can share this and listen to that. In the meantime, if someone wants to find you, I mean, you're making it easy, but let's follow the format. Why don't you tell us what's the best way to find you and get in contact?
Well, the best way to find me is I'm the only Marki Lemons in the world. If you spell my name correctly, you will find me all over the internet because I practice what I preach. My name is spelled Marki Lemons, Lemons. You do not have to add the row, just Marki Lemons.
Well, I appreciate it, Marki Lemons. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.